Apparently, there's some sort of virus that's impacting the world. Who knows? All I know is it was impacting my sports for a couple months, so that's what I'm really upset about. But anyways, we're going to talk about today if we think that titles won during the pandemic are actually worth less than winning them in normal circumstances. So recently I've been seeing on Twitter and maybe on some of these sports talk shows that people are saying that these titles that are won during the virus and during the pandemic are going to be worth less or be seen as with an asterisk just because they were won under not normal circumstances. I think that's total garbage. I mean, these are probably the same people that were sitting there complaining, oh my God, we don't have sports for 6 months. And then as soon as the sports come back and they start playing again, oh, well, now the titles don't mean anything, so pretty much playing the games is useless at this point. I mean, make up your mind. Do you want sports? Do you not want sports? You can't just put an asterisk on something. I mean, they either won it or they didn't. Honestly, I would say it's a lot harder to win under a pandemic than it is without one, because in this, you have to trust that your teammates are all doing what they're supposed to do after they leave your facility. Yeah, once they come in, they're under close eye, they're tested, etc. But once they leave the facility, you don't know what every single person on that team's going to do. You don't know if they're out till 3 a.m. making it rain at the strip club. I mean, in all honesty, you're just trusting that everyone's doing what they're supposed to do. And if they don't, the whole team is going to suffer as a result. To give you an example of when I think there should be an asterisk added in sports, a main one that comes to mind is baseball. There's countless scandals, the steroid era, countless teams cheating, the Houston Astros a couple years ago. The reason I say those deserve asterisks is those teams and those players knowingly did it themselves. They knew what they were doing. The world didn't intentionally get a pandemic and infect the world. These players have absolutely no control. They're just playing in the circumstances that they're given. Those players that use steroids and etc., that was a conscious choice. So that's where I make the difference between these two. One main example I'll give you right now is the top 4 in college football. College football has really not been that impacted, the overall championship, in my opinion, because of the fact that it's the same 4 teams in it this year that have been in it the past 3 years. It's Bama, OSU, Clemson, Notre Dame. You can't tell me that you didn't think before the pandemic even hit that this year that those teams weren't going to be contenders for the title. So if any one of those teams wins the title, you cannot tell me that putting an asterisk next to it is justified, because that's the same teams that have been in it for the past 3 years straight. So if we look at NFL at this point, I would say the only team that's really been truly impacted at this point is the Baltimore Ravens. They're probably going to miss the playoffs as a result of a lot of COVID problems within their locker room. I know the Titans had a problem with this a couple weeks ago, but they seem to have cleared it up and they're putting that behind them. But I would say outside of the Ravens missing the playoffs, pretty much every NFL team that's going to make the playoffs this year is a team that is what we thought was going to be in the playoffs anyway. The Chiefs, the Packers, the Seahawks. I mean, these are all the teams that we thought were going to be in there before the season started. So, I mean, NFL is pretty much on schedule to give us what we thought was going to happen at the beginning of the year. If we look at the NBA title this year, I don't think you can really put an asterisk next to that one either. I mean, these people were put in a neutral site with no fans whatsoever. They were completely isolated for up to 2 months without seeing their family, seeing their friends, anything of that nature in person. Obviously, there's FaceTime and things, but I mean, that's not the same at all. And then you have teams that were lacking a lot of self-control in the bubble. I mean, the LA Clippers, they just completely collapsed once they reached there. You had a different player leaving the bubble every other day, it seemed like. You had lap dance Lou Williams going to the strip club. There's video evidence of him sitting there eating chicken wings instead of being on the court playing. I mean, it's going to be kind of hard to win a game when you're coming back with a bunch of lemon pepper wing sauce on your hands. So, I mean, you can't really say that the NBA title should have an asterisk either. I mean, it's pretty difficult to play with no fans at a neutral site, especially if you had a higher seed and you should have been having home court advantage during a lot of these games, such as the Lakers. They had the number 1 overall seed. They should have been playing the majority of their games in LA in front of their home crowd, get that home crowd energy to pump them up, and they didn't have that. So the fact that they could do that on a neutral court is pretty impressive in my opinion. All right, guys, that's all I have for you. Thanks for checking out the video. If you liked it, please subscribe, share with your friends, and check out my other videos on the channel. Let me know what you thought. Do you think that the NBA title, the NCAA title, etc. should have asterisks next to them? Do you agree with me, disagree with me? Let me know in the comments, and give me any video suggestions that you'd like to see next. And thanks for checking out the channel.